Hey everybody, it's been nearly a year and a half since I actually posted an update video on this GMC Denali road bike. I did post a tutorial on replacing the bottom bracket back in March, but other than that I haven't posted many videos about this thing at all. So I'm sure you've all been very curious about how this bike's been doing, since my Denali road bike videos on Bike Geek MTDX are my most popular videos on that channel. And I got this video out of focus for a reason, because I have done a serious upgrade to this bike. And just take a moment to guess what I've done to it. I'm just going to find out what I've done to this thing. Now that the video is back in focus, go ahead and take a look. Look at the wheels. There's what the difference. I have actually upgraded the wheels on this bike. I installed the Aeromax alloy wheel set from Amazon. This wheel set only costs around $100 and is normally a $275 wheel set. You have to say this is a very good quality wheel set for the money. And it's probably the best upgrade I've ever done to this road bike. It's going to see how many miles are on this bike. We have 3279 miles. Not sure if you can really see or not. So anyways, 3279 miles. And I put these wheels on this bike when the bike had 2660 miles on it. So I've done quite a bit of riding on this bike since I put these wheels on here. So let's go ahead and have a look at this wheel set. I've got the same old surface tires that I installed back last year. They're still holding up very good. I put a lot of miles on, but surprisingly they haven't shown that much wear. I mean, they've actually wore down just a little bit, but now that they have actually got broke in from the wear, they actually stick to the road even better. So anyways, just going to have a look at these wheels up close. They have Vuelta, I guess that's how you pronounce it, skewer type hubs with quick release. The rear hub is a cassette free hub rather than a free wheel that's on the stock wheels. These hubs are built much better than the hubs on the stock wheels on these Denali road bikes. Again, if I didn't mention, these are 24 spoke bladed spoke wheels with aerodynamic rims. Just gonna have a look at the front wheel. And these wheels are designed for press to tube, so if you also upgrade your Denali road bike's wheel set to this, you'd have to also buy some new inner tubes too with press to valves. It's funny, I had to replace the front tube not too long ago because I think the valve failed on the original tube, because I come out one morning and noticed that the tire was flat. And the cool thing about these quick releases, you don't have to have a wrench. It's just so simple. You just unlatch it and pull the wheel off. Unlike stock, where you'd have to go dig out a 15mm wrench to get your wheels set up, get your wheels off. Still had the stock brakes on this bike, with the exception of the pads. I had to replace the pads. I did that when I replaced the wheel set. And I have to say, this is a very wonderful upgrade. It's well worth taking the time to do. And when I did this upgrade, I also upgraded the gearing on this bike too. Seeing I had a much better wheel set, I figured I'd put some better gears on this thing to actually make it go faster. What I did was, when I purchased this wheel set, seeing it's a cassette free hub, I bought a 28 to 11 tooth cassette with 7 gears, 28 on top, 11 on the bottom. And normally you would think that one tooth less on the bottom gear wouldn't make much of a difference, but in reality it makes a huge difference. For the first 4 gears, they're geared about the same as the stock free wheel that's on the stock wheels on this bike, but gears 5 through 7 are geared different. They're geared much faster. Now, of course, you probably noticed this chain, everything's pretty dirty. This whole bike's pretty dirty. I need to clean it. But it's right in the middle of winter time, so that's why I haven't really bothered that much. But anyways, the stock derailleur works just fine with this new setup. For those who don't know, with the 7-speed, for the 7-gear cassette, you have to use a spacer, which is located behind the top gear and the back of the cassette. This cassette-free hub, anyway. Anyways, like I said, the stock derailleur works fine. Just had to do a few adjustments to the limiting screws, and it works great. The shifting is so much better on this with this new cassette compared to the stock freewheel. I'm still using the stock crankset. That works perfectly fine. The top chain ring has plenty of teeth. Not sure how many, but it's geared pretty good for speed and everything. I'd say the fastest I've ever had this bike, which I was going down a hill when I got this speed, but I have actually had this bike up to 50 miles an hour going down a hill, and I was still pedaling. I didn't run out of gears on this bike. That's the big difference with this new gearing setup. And the next thing I'm going to be doing to this bike pretty soon is I'm going to be getting these handlebars replaced. The thing I don't like about these Denali road bikes is they use these humongous Revo shifters. Now, these are good quality shifters. I mean, I've seen these on mountain bikes and bike shops, but that's just it. They're mountain bike shifters. They're not road bike shifters. They take up a lot of space on your handlebars. And the way it works when they manufacture these bikes with the handlebars and concern, they had to actually take a drop bar, cut it in half, stick on the Revo shifts, and weld the handlebars back together. No kidding. That's exactly what they do. So I'm going to the bike shop and getting a new drop bar for this thing. And I'm going to be ordering some nice paddle shifters off the internet. They're made by Shimano, and you can find them on the Schwinn Varsity bikes that are sold at Walmart. And those shifters, from what I've heard on reviews online, have actually made a huge improvement for this bike. You get a lot more handlebar room and everything. So that's what I'm going to be doing. And of course, I got this really nice headline here. If you haven't noticed, I got this I think sometime in 2012. It's a wonderful headlight, very bright. Has a Cree LED in it. So anyways, that being said, now that I got new wheels on this bike, I was able to do something else. I didn't put those old wheels up in the storage. They're being used. I was able to put those old wheels back on my old blue GMC Denali road bike to put it back in service. Now, of course, this bike had been sitting behind my garage without wheels on it for, what, a year and a half? So it was pretty good to have this bike back up and going again. I don't ride it very often. It's really just my backup bike. And I had to use it about a few weeks ago when the front tire went flat on my yellow bike. And of course, it was late at night and I wanted to go ride, so I took my nice headlight, stuck on this bike, and went for a ride. And let me tell you the truth, going back from those wheels to these, and of course I got the stock tires from this bike mounted to these wheels, it's a humongous difference. Let's go and have a closer look at these wheels here. These are the stock wheels that come on the 2010 bike. These are 32 spoke wheels, and these are a little bit heavier than the Aeromax wheels. Of course, these have pretty cheap hubs. Now, of course, I recommend that you, after every probably 2,000 miles, I recommend you repack the bearings on these things, because you guys saw what happened to this bike originally. I never did bother to re-grease the rear hub, and it failed. And these, as I mentioned, these are the stock tires that come on this bike. They're still in decent shape because I never use them that much. The thing is, they're very heavy. But these are actually a lot nicer than the stock tires that come on the 2010 bike. Okay, now that I've mentioned how these two bikes are doing, I'm going to talk about something else. I'm going to be talking about what I think about these bikes in terms of their stock condition. Back in 2006 when I got this bike, it came with these exact tires here. Come with those tires and these kinds of wheels, which these are built on the heavy side, but if you notice, they're aerodynamic and everything. And this was a pretty decent wheel set for a bike that was $150. And of course, I did re-grease the hubs on this one, so this front wheel works just fine. And this is the wheel set that comes on the 2010 bike, well, the newer yellow bikes. That's the stock wheel set that comes on those. And they're a little bit lighter, but still they use the same hubs and everything. These tires that come on the 2006 bike are 28C, which is a bit large, but that's acceptable for, let's say, a beginner's road bike. The 28C tire size is not too bad, but in 2010, or maybe even earlier than that, or at least on my 2010 bike, this tire came on stock. Well, actually a set. This is one of the tires. These are 32C, but look at the tread on these. These tires have really big treads on them, which causes rolling resistance and everything, rather than those tires. These tires here are really just a knockoff of Kenda's Quest tires. But these here have big old treads in them. It's like they're like for cyclocross or something, and they're very, very heavy. See, they're 32C and they're extremely thick and very heavy. So that's why I say when you get your Denali road bike, the first thing you want to do to it is replace those tires. Replace the tires with a good quality set of tires, and replace the tube protectors too, because they have real cheap tube protectors on the rims. At least now in 2012, they started to put slick tires back on the Denali road bikes, but they're still using 32C size tires, which I'm very disappointed with. If they were to stick with these 28C tires, they're at least a decent set of tires to get started with, but these are also very heavy. The stock crankset that comes on this bike is acceptable, but in 2006 the third chainring had less teeth on it, which meant the bike wouldn't go as fast for the amount of pedaling speed. In 2010 they did improve that with a better crankset for road bikes. So let's say, other than the tires, the wheels, and the crankset, these two bikes, at least the 2006 and the 2010 model, haven't really changed, other than of course the paint style that's on, the way the layout of the colors and everything else. I like both these bikes in terms of their colors. I like the blue color and everything. Of course I like the yellow and black too. It makes it look sharp and everything. But I am pretty disappointed with the newer Denali road bikes because of those 32C size tires. And the other day I was at Walmart, and a guy was looking at the Denali road bike, and of course I shared my experience with it. It is a reliable bike, but if you look at a Schwinn Varsity, which costs about $80 more, the Denali road bike costs around $170, and the Schwinn Varsity costs around $250. So we're talking about an $80 difference. The Schwinn Varsity has those paddle shifters, as I was mentioning I was going to upgrade on this bike. Has a better crankset. It's only 2 gears up front, but most road bikes only have 2 gears anyway. Better crankset in terms of the teeth and everything. And the Schwinn Varsity had a quick release front wheel. I'm not sure about the back, but the Varsity did have a quick release front wheel, so you could easily mount the bike to the top of your SUV or whatever if you had a rack on top. The Schwinn Varsity also has better quality tires, kind of like these Surface in a way. They're real thin, very good for road bikes. The Schwinn Varsity also has better brakes, and just a few overall better things, but it's kind of to be expected. This GMC Denali road bike, it only costs around $150 to $170, and I'd say for that price alone, it's a decent road bike. So if you can only spend $170, if you're tight on cash, you want to get into road biking, sure, get the GMC Denali road bike, because it is very upgradable whenever you do get the cash to upgrade other things on it, and it's usually very dependable, other than the bottom bracket going out after about 2,000 miles. And of course, as I mentioned, keep your stock wheels lubed up once in a while with good grease and everything, so that way it'll last. But if you can actually spend $250, get the Schwinn Varsity, because it comes with some slightly better components. So anyways, that was a little update video on my GMC Denali road bikes, and some extra information for you to know. So anyways, if you have any questions or comments, feel free to ask, and thanks for watching.